When from the emergence of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu around 2015 or thereabout, where people started recognizing the 30th of May as Heroes Day, a day to respect the fallen heroes, those who fell in that 1967 to 1970 Nigeria Biafra Civil War. Gallant men who stood their ground, making sure that the Hausa did not enter Oka. As that statement says, whenever you hear statements like Hausa but Oka, just know that it's about that Nigeria Biafra Civil War the ancestors of Ndigbo, they really tried a lot in protecting their people. But as it is, Ohanezendigbo made a suggestion that Biafra Day should be renamed Igbo Day, a remembrance of the day of Ndigbo. And the IPOB has disagreed that they don't agree renaming that day Igbo Day, that day should be known as Biafra Day, and a sit at home for that day is a must. And I don't think that any sensible Igbo child, any sensible Igbo man would disagree with what IPOB is saying. And renaming this thing Igbo Day, Igbo Day, if Ohanezendigbo wants to have a day called Igbo Day, I think that's their own issue and that's their own cup of tea and that's what they can come up with and people will support them. But this Biafra Day is okay because that was when this thing happened. You know, in I think the government of Ibrahim Babangida removed history and cultural heritage studies from our schools after this. I think around 1980 something, he removed it from the schools and replaced it with social studies. The reason is that they don't want the history to be told, but there is no way you can hide the history from the people. They already know the chaos, the uproar that this history is going to cause. Because you know, when you read this history, when you accept people like Chino Achebe in his novel titled There Was a Country, and Chimamanda Nneadichie in a country titled Half of a Yellow Sun, that's the only way you can, you know, have a full detail of the history of the Nigeria Biafra 1967 to 1970 Civil War. That they are the two people. Even though Chimamanda Nneadichie's Half of a Yellow Sun was more of fictitious work, but looking at the in-depth of it, you will see a similarity to that of Chino Achebe's work. Chino Achebe's work was more of, you know, reality than fiction. It was not a fictive work, but that of Chimamanda Adichie was more of fiction. You know, he used fiction to, you know, describe that story, even though he never made a direct statement or to make his story to root direct that he was talking about Biafra. But everybody that knows that history knows that Chimamanda Adichie wrote, you know, explicit story, a full compendium of the history of 1967 to 1970 Nigeria Biafra Civil War. Let's go down to that information. The indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has condemned effort to rename the Biafra Heroes Day as Igbo Day, calling it dishonor to the memories of the millions who died in the Biafra War and blaming politically motivated opportunities. The group also announced it will mark Biafra Heroes Day with a traditional sit-at-home on May 30th, 2025 across Biafran territories and globally, featuring prayers, lectures, and candle night vigils. In a statement issued on Sunday, IPOB spokesman Emma Powerful emphasized that May 30th is forever known as Biafra Heroes Day, a sacred day of honoring all the life lost in Nigeria's Civil War in 1967 to 1970, regardless of ethnic or origin. According to him, Biafra is larger than any single ethnic group. Matthias hailed from Anam, Ibibio, Efik, Oron, Ijo, Igbo, and other nationalists that stood shoulder to shoulder when the world turned its back on us, he said. IPOB condemned the proposed renaming of the renaming to Igbo Day, calling it a historical distortion and an insult to the diverse group who fought and died for Biafra. They described the attempt as lack of historical ignorance, referencing ancient maps and the 1967 Declaration of Biafra. IPOB asserted that the name Biafra is non-negotiable and predates even the colonial creation of Nigeria. It is a sacred trust etched in the blood of over 3 million souls, IPOB said. No arm, chair, mouthpiece, hiding behind the tattered cloak of Ohaneze faction, Communix possesses either the mandate or the moral stature to tinker with it. The separatist group described Heroes' Day as a solemn covenant of remembrance, likening it to Europe